Welcome back to Digital Raven. My name's Ryan.
And I'm Peter.
This week we're going to talk a little bit about the challenges of working at an accelerated schedule on location. So Peter, as the director of the film, what were some of the challenges you faced?
Well, time is our biggest enemy and was our biggest enemy. So the number one thing that we could have done, and we did do, was pre-production. Planning out the shot, storyboarding, and estimating time of how long each shot is going to be. So when we did our shot list, we figured out, we planned an hour for this scene, an hour for that scene. This one should only take 30 minutes. And so we can plan out both days. We only had 2 days, total of about 16 hours to get 15 pages of script done. So on set, we had to make sure that we weren't spending too much time in each scene. So when we had a couple good shots, sometimes people still want to get an extra shot for safety. Sometimes we didn't have the luxury of doing that because we're looking at the time, it's 1 o'clock already. We need to be in the next scene, doing the next scene in the next room. So we had to keep on moving. Otherwise you run out of time, get your shots done. That was the biggest challenge.
And of course, if you guys have been following our weblog so far, you have seen sort of the progression of a lot of the pre-production stuff that we had to do as far as props and costuming stuff went.
Yeah, and so Ryan, as prop master and makeup artist, you had a lot of challenges. What were some of the ones that you encountered?
The biggest challenge, which was actually perfectly, I feel, solved by our location, was that there needed to be a central location for all of our props. There did happen to be kind of a counter where everything could be stored overnight by actor. Costume pieces, obviously prop pieces, were all in one place. However, if we hadn't had that counter, it would have been a scramble to figure out what to do. You really kind of do, as has been mentioned to us before, and I think it's kind of a really good rule. You build your list of things that you actually have that you can film with. I've heard it referred to as a Robert Rodriguez list. So if you've got like a really cool car, or your mom has an awesome kitchen, and those things are something that you need in your movie, you put them down as assets you actually have. During pre-production, during our planning stage, we did walk through the building. We got kind of a good idea of what the layout was. I drew lots of maps.
We took a lot of photos as well. When we walked through, we took video and photos and kind of pre-scripted with ourselves as like temporary actors, how we would motion through it so we can encounter problems early, we can fix them.
Yeah, and that definitely helped out with props. We actually had a pretty big challenge come up during filming. We had our primary blood rig give out on us 25 minutes into our first shot.
Yeah, the very first time we were using it, it worked partially one time and then failed.
And we had to run back to the prop counter and try to fix it. And obviously, as Peter mentioned, with how much time do we have for this shot, there wasn't necessarily okay, run to Home Depot, go back to the workbench, rebuild it, we'll shoot tomorrow. It was really like, okay, how can we use what we've got here to repair it and get it to working again?
Yeah, and then just move on.
We also had a lot of extras on site. Being a zombie film, we pretty much let everybody know in the area. We let people know through YouTube, hey, show up, help out. Helped out really, really well with makeup. We actually had a bunch of people show up who were experienced with makeup, at least a little bit.
We had a pretty big makeup team because of that.
Yeah, and our makeup team went from 2-3 people to 6 people in the span of 15 minutes.
Yeah, but the problem also with having a lot of extras on set, a lot of people you don't know. I didn't know half the people, friends of friends of friends come along, which is great for those big scenes. But we get problems of one kid tried to walk off with an airsoft gun.
That's true. I think we actually did lose a prop, or a costume piece. We lost a costume piece. Not to somebody who was an extra in the movie, just to somebody who happened to be on the public site, which it happens.
Yeah, it was a public location, a police station that was being rented out, an old police station that was being rented out to another company. So people come in and go who have nothing to do with the movie.
No, and they see something cool and they pick it up and they go, and that's why prop control specifically and costume control was such a big deal. And even with almost 1 or 2 people always around the counter space, we still encountered extra challenges, things we weren't counting on. One last thing we did want to mention is we did have waivers on site. Now, it is very important to have waivers on site for several different reasons.
And some of those reasons are that later on down the road, if these actors or extras decide they don't want to be in your film and they don't want to be showed on the internet or have anything to do with your film movie, you legally can't do anything about it unless you have a waiver signing with their signature saying, hey, I give permission to be in this film. Then they can't do anything. But otherwise, it can cause a lot of problems. You'd have to remove them. They could sue you. It all depends on what you're doing with the film, but it can cause a lot of problems. You want to have those waivers.
Yeah, and of course, also in a waiver, and we even went a little above and beyond, and we had some first aid equipment and first aid responder on site just in case anybody did get hurt, which we were lucky no one did.
Yeah, I mean, you can get sued profusely if someone gets hurt on your set unless there's a waiver with the proper wording on it.
And again, with the waivers, and we also had a sign-up sheet. That way we could tell if there was somebody who did come on site, did get hurt, and they weren't somebody who was supposed to be there, we're covered. And the other thing that it actually helps out with, which I just thought of, is when you go to do your credits and you need to know who all the extras are,
There you go.
you've got a list. So there you go. There are some of the challenges and things to think about when doing your own short films. Check us out in next week. Hopefully we'll have some more to talk about.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Have a good one.